After pestering the poor but academically excellent student until he became my boyfriend, I got tired of him. I casually made up an excuse to break up with him. My family is rich, while you're poor. We're not well matched in family status, so it's not suitable for us to be together. After the breakup, I blocked him and bought a plane ticket to travel abroad for 3 months. I had a great time. 3 months later, when I came back, I found that the excellent student had transformed into the highly favored young master of the Fu family. I was dumbfounded. People in the social circle burst out laughing, gloating and waiting to see my joke. At the banquet, the young master held a wine glass and walked towards me with a cold face. I was so scared that my legs became weak. I leaned against the wall and grabbed the hem of his clothes, shouting loudly, "I'm pregnant. The baby is yours. You can't hit me. Nor can you scold me. Woo woo. I'm pregnant and you're still giving me the cold shoulder. You're such a scumbag." I shouted very loudly. As soon as the word scumbag came out, a noisy banquet hall instantly became silent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Felix was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing. We broke up 3 months ago. And the last time we had sex was 6 months ago. If 6 months have passed without showing a pregnancy, what are you pregnant with? The scene became even more silent. A suppressed cough came from the main seat. After coughing, old Mr. Fu drank some water and awkwardly smoothed things over. "It's okay. It's just children playing around. Miss Shen Hun, come over to Grandpa." I stood up as if I had been rescued and was about to run towards the main seat. But Felix grabbed the hem of my dress at the back. He said gloomily, "Grandpa, this is between her and me. Don't interfere. I have something to say to her. I'll take her away first. Everyone, have a good time." After saying that, he picked me up horizontally and strode towards the door. In the banquet hall, my father, my brother, and my longtime nemesis who had always disliked me all showed sympathetic and teasing smiles at me. As early as at the airport when my brother picked me up, he said meaningfully that I was very bold. When I arrived at the banquet, my nemesis came up to me and told me excitedly, 3 months ago, the poor but academically excellent student, whom I dumped on the pretext of his poverty, was actually the low-key young master of the Fu family. You're doomed." My nemesis laughed wildly. "He was just being low-key. But you took him for being truly poor and dumped him. He hates you so much that he vowed to kill you as soon as he saw you." I shuddered. My fear reached its peak when Felix threw me into the car. Crouching by the car door, I looked at him in horror as he began to take off his coat and untie his tie. "What are you doing?" I forced myself to stay calm. "Isn't it just a breakup? Breaking up and getting back together is common among adults. Why are you so unable to take it?" "Breakup?" He was so angry that he laughed. "Is that what you call a breakup? You sent a message on WeChat and then blocked me. And then turned around and went abroad for a trip. If it weren't for your father and brother guaranteeing that you would come back, I would have thought you had run away." He stopped taking off his clothes. He got into the car, pulled me over and held me in his arms, and said in a deep voice, "Explain." "Explain what? Why did you break up so inexplicably?" 3 For what else? Because I didn't like him anymore. From college to graduation, I pestered him for 3 years until in the 4th year he agreed to be with me out of pity. After being together, it was a nightmare. I'm good-looking and from a wealthy family. I've been spoiled by my parents since childhood and lived a carefree life. But he had to set rules for me. Eating snacks in bed, no. Skipping breakfast, no. Staying up late to play games, still no. All these rules made my scalp ache. When I was so angry that I quarreled with him, he gave me the cold shoulder. I cried like crazy, while he quietly read documents beside me. When I cried until my voice was hoarse, he would look up and ask me, "Have you had enough? If you've had enough, go and have dinner. I still have to go to work this afternoon." This feeling of punching cotton is really awful. How much I liked him when I was chasing him before. And now how much I'm annoyed by his father-like discipline. I'm really fed up. Dad said that a pampered rich girl like me is most suitable for finding a submissive man to coax me for the rest of my life. I didn't think so before. Now thinking about it, Dad was really right. I'm pampered. I'm willful. I'm capricious. And I throw tantrums like a rich girl. If Felix can't spoil me, then I'll find a more tolerant boyfriend. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that Felix was the mysterious young master of the Fu family. For if I had known that Felix was the highly favored young master of the Fu family, I wouldn't have broken up with him. Although I don't get involved in the family business, I also know that there are so many benefits to getting in with the Fu family. But he didn't tell me. He deceived me for 4 years. Thinking of this, I became a little angry again. I climbed down from Felix, frowned and asked him, "Aren't you the one who deceived me for 4 years too? What right do you have to blame me for the breakup here?" Maybe he also realized that he was in the wrong. After a moment of silence, he said to me, "Then we're even. Let's forget about it as if none of this had happened." He reached out his hand to hold me again, and his voice became gentle. "Stella, let's go home. I've made your favorite lotus seed porridge." I slapped his hand away. "You better get this straight. I'm not throwing a tantrum. I really want to break up with you. You lied to me. So you owe me. Just because I don't hold it against you doesn't mean I still want to be with you." I took a deep breath and, facing his increasingly ugly face, finally said, "Felix, I don't like you anymore. Let's part on good terms and leave each other some dignity. Okay?" 5. The underground parking lot was dim. Felix looked at me coldly, his brows impatient as he warned, "Stella, you've gone too far this time. If you apologize to me right now, I'll pretend I didn't hear what you said. Otherwise you won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow." I shook my head without hesitation. "I really want to break up with you. It's not being willful. Nor am I throwing a fit. Felix, I don't like you. Not at all. Really not at all. Extremely not at all. I dislike you just at the sight of you. Do you understand?" I repeated, "Don't like," several times. Felix's face grew darker and darker. With a sweep of his long arm, he dragged me into his arms and bent down to pinch my chin and kiss me. "Felix, do you still remember what I said when we first got together?" His voice was very deep. I was dazed by the kiss and thought with the little brain power I had left. Finally, I dug out that sentence from the depths of my memory. "My family has a hereditary trait of being deeply affectionate. Once I identify someone, it will never change. Stella, once we're together, it's for a lifetime. Are you really sure about this?" I answered without hesitation. "Of course. Aren't these all just love-coaxing words between lovers?" If he wanted to hear them, I could easily spout out oaths of eternal love for him. But in reality, what good are they? I never say useless words. Felix nuzzled my cheek with his nose. "For me, dating and getting married are no different. I've already identified someone. In my world, there is no divorce. And there will be no breakup. The only reason for me to be separated from my partner would be death. Stella, do you dare to provoke me again?" 6. Tyrant. I glared at him resentfully and reached out to pinch the flesh on his arm. He lay still and let me pinch while rubbing my head with his other hand. Suddenly he said, "Your father has been looking for cooperation with the Fu family recently. Do you know about this?" I shook my head. He continued, "Your family has no advantage among the competitors. It's not easy to get that project. I can help you. But you have to be a bit more obedient. Don't mention the breakup again. If you do it again, I won't be so indulgent. Understand? You." I couldn't believe it. "You're actually threatening my family's company? Are you still human? Felix? You're heartless. A beast in human form. Worse than pigs and dogs. If you can't use idioms, you don't have to. No one forces you to pretend to be cultured." Felix helplessly pressed his fingertips against his forehead. "Stella, I just want you to be a bit more obedient. If you're not obedient, I can't concentrate on my work. I said I want to break up. Enough. If you keep making a fuss, I'll really get angry. He raised his hand to hold my fingertips and gently rubbed them. His tone low. Stella, you don't want to see me angry, do you? I immediately shut my mouth. 7 Felix is really scary when he's angry. Literally scary. The last time he was angry was when I had a high fever but still stayed up all night playing games and burned myself into pneumonia. Felix took care of me in the hospital with a cold face. When I recovered, he dragged me to the playground and forced me to run 5,000 meters. He ran with me. In the end, I ran until I broke down. I sat on the playground, crying and scolding him for being crazy. He asked me, "Do you dare to stay up all night playing games again? Who are you to tell me what to do? You're fucking crazy." Woo. My legs hurt so much. Very good. Still using dirty words. Felix nodded. Another 5,000 meters. When you finish running, you can go back to bed. Seeing him stand up, brushed the dust off his tracksuit, and was about to drag me up to keep running, I blacked out and immediately hugged his legs and cried. "Honey, I'm sorry. I won't play anymore. I won't stay up all night. And I won't play games. I'm sorry." Whew. My legs really hurt so much. He sighed. He bent down to touch my sweaty head. "If you had been disobedient earlier, it would have been fine." That day, he carried me home, bathed me while holding me, and then carried me to bed. I was as tired as a dead fish throughout the whole process and couldn't get out of bed for several days. Since then, I've never dared to stay up until midnight to play games again. Even when I'm not sleeping with Felix. When I hear the game notification sound in the middle of the night, I inexplicably feel my legs trembling. My father and my brother found out and thought Felix was a good guy. They invited him to dinner at home and encouraged him to take good care of me and get rid of all my bad habits. 8. Crazy. I really think Felix is crazy. A young man in his 20s. Doesn't stay up late. Doesn't play games. Doesn't watch short videos. And takes care of his girlfriend like a child. When his girlfriend does something wrong, the punishment is not something naughty, but running and working out. I was screaming like a crazy groundhog inside. But my face showed nothing. I coldly got off Felix, hugged my arms and looked out of the window. "I still want to break up," I said. "No matter what you say, what you think, or how inhumanly you abuse me, I still want to break up." Felix sighed. "Reasons. I've said it. I don't like. Don't say such nonsense about not liking. I don't believe it. Even if it's true." He removed the pillow between him and me, raised his hand and rubbed my hair. "Stella, be good and tell me what you think. A husband and wife need to communicate. Only when you speak out can I change. Right?" I glanced at him. Seeing his sincere look, I pursed my lips and tried to say, "I want to have beer with fried chicken. Order takeout. Stay up late to read novels. And don't want to be required to go home before 10 o'clock at night. I also like to eat snacks in bed while watching TV. And tip my favorite female streamer. You don't let me do any of these things. If you change these rules, I won't break up with you." I seriously said a bunch of things. But he twitched the corner of his mouth and said simply, "No." 9. I was so angry that I wanted to hit him. "Break up. Right now. Immediately. No negotiation. Stella. Not letting you do those things is for your own good. I'm an adult. I don't need you to be nice to me." I slapped away his hand that wanted to hug me. Finally grown up. I just want to live more freely. If I die early from staying up late, it's my own choice. Don't you care? He was silent. It was very quiet in the car. I turned my head to look at the dark underground garage outside and softened my tone. "Actually, it's not that you're not good. It's just that we're not suitable for each other. I want a boyfriend who can play with me, not a father for myself. When we break up, You can find a woman with the same living habits as you. You will surely have a better life than with me. I don't think Felix is bad. It's just that he's not suitable for me. He is an old-fashioned person living in rules. And I am a lively and unrestrained bird. The first time I ate on his bed, he coldly dragged me up, changed all the sheets and quilt covers, and then ordered me to write a 10-word letter of guarantee. Since then, I've realized that we are not the same kind of people. And I don't want to become a person like him either. 10 in the silence. Felix sighed. I think you may have misunderstood one thing. What? I let you speak out your dissatisfaction. I will change the reasonable ones. But these requirements of yours are obviously unreasonable. And I won't accept them. But anyway, Stella, you don't have the option to leave me. I've told you long ago that there is no difference between falling in love and getting married for me. Since you have chosen to be with me, it must be for a lifetime. He tapped my forehead with his knuckle. Stop making trouble. Stella. Whether it's family background or intelligence, you can't compete with me. Stop arguing with me. I will play games with you tonight. We can go to bed at 12 o'clock. Okay? I didn't speak. Felix compromised. Play games without clothes. Okay? I still didn't speak. He pinched my hand as a punishment and said helplessly, completely naked, without even underwear. Are you satisfied now? My eyes uncontrollably lit up. I wanted to continue arguing, but I really couldn't resist what he had just said. Thinking of the latest Otomi game I was addicted to. Being held by Felix without clothes while being fat caked by the male lead in the game. I pinched my palm and made a decision controlled by hormones. I can break up tomorrow. Play games first tonight. 17 the next day. I was called home by my father with a phone call. I shrank my head and listened to his scolding full of disappointment. What's wrong with Felix? His family background, appearance, and ability are all first class. You broke up with him for no reason. But he doesn't hold a grudge and instead helps our family everywhere. Besides, apart from Felix, who else can tolerate your inexplicable bad temper? Stella, you're not young anymore. You can't be like a child anymore. The more I listened, the more uncomfortable I felt. Everyone said I was capricious. They said I liked to play, was fickle-minded, didn't listen to the family's arrangement to enter the company, and didn't do anything serious. 1 year after graduation, I still used the family's money to eat, drink, and have fun. They said I was a typical useless second-generation rich kid. I was very aggrieved. It's not that I don't want to enter the company, but my sister-in-law is narrow-minded. As soon as I took office, she said sarcastically that I shouldn't covet my brother's things. In order not to have a conflict with my brother, I took the initiative to resign and leave. I'm not jobless either. Since my freshman year, I have been making money by drawing comics, and I have a good income and reputation. It's just that this job is still not a serious thing in the eyes of my father and Felix. My father has always thought that I have been spoiled into a useless person. Felix has always looked down on me. I know all of this. All the requests I made to Felix were ignored by him. Ultimately, it's because he has never respected me. In his eyes, I'm childish, stupid, and a spoiled child who doesn't deserve to have an equal personality with him. I really hate this. After being lectured by my father, I remembered his cold-faced commanding look again, and wanted to break up even more. I took a deep breath. Just as I was about to carefully choose my words to send him a breakup text message, I received a call from my archenemy. Telephone. He asked me to go out and play. 12 My archenemy, Leo, is also my childhood sweetheart. We have known each other since childhood and often fought. He is similar to me. Both of us have an older brother in our families. We can't inherit the family business and have no ambition to do other things. People in the circle jokingly call us the profligate duo. When I arrived at the bar, he was flirting with the bartender at the bar. When he saw me, he threw down 500 yuan and waved his hand to let the girl go. The poor but excellent student has become the heir of the Fu family. Stella. You are so amazing. Leo poured me a glass of wine, and said with emotion, now your father is probably going to worship you. It's Felix he will worship. Not me. I took a sip of wine listlessly. My father almost broke my legs when he knew I was going to break up with him. You are going to break up? Leo was also very surprised. Are you out of your mind? You don't understand. He is too excellent and doesn't understand what kind of life a slacker like me wants at all. I had a pained look on my face. I think I'm more suitable to marry you. We can stay up all night together and complain about the traffic stars. Leo laughed. That's not what you said when you chased him. I regret it now. I sighed. The more I liked him before, the more I regret it now. If I were given another chance, I would stay far away from him, and would never have anything to do with him again. I was so immersed in complaining that I didn't notice Leo's strange expression in front of me for a while. Then he coughed and said, there is something that will make you regret even more. Stella. Look back. I turned around without knowing why. I saw Felix sitting in a booth not far away. He was looking at me intently. And his dark eyes just met mine. 13. I'm too familiar with Felix's expression. Cold. Distant. Seemingly emotionless. But actually extremely angry. He had such an expression when he forced me to run 5.0 meters before. I subconsciously wanted to run. Leo grabbed me. Why run? Talk it out with him. Stella. Running away can't solve the problem. If you want to break up, just do it. Don't be so indecisive. At worst, I'll let your father beat me instead of you. And we can live together. I was dragged by Leo to Felix. There was the noisy singing of the resident singer around. But I felt my mind went blank. Stella. Felix waved to me. His voice was very calm. I'll count to 3. Come here. 3. My heart skipped a beat. And I subconsciously wanted to walk towards him. But Leo grabbed me. Master Fu. Stella is not a child anymore. You can't use the methods to scare children on her anymore. Leo stood firmly in front of me and looked directly at Felix. She doesn't like you anymore. Master Fu should stop pestering her. It's better for both of you to break up as soon as possible. Felix smiled. Very contemptuously. Obviously not taking Leo seriously. He just said to me, Stella. Come here. If you come here now, I won't punish you. Otherwise, you know my rules. I didn't move. My muddled mind finally regained some consciousness. I thought, why should I be afraid of Felix? The Fu family is powerful and influential. But my family is not bad either. If we really break up, at most I'll be beaten, and they won't really kill me. With some confidence in my heart, I let go of Leo's hand and shook my head. I don't like you anymore and I won't go back with you. Felix. Let's break up. 14. Felix's face darkened. But he was still smiling. His eyes wandered between me and Leo for a moment. And then he sneered and said, break up with me? Who are you going to marry? This loser? Can he protect you and provide resources for your family? If you said you were going to marry his brother, I would be a little happier. At least it would prove that your taste is not that bad. Leo's face turned a little pale from the humiliation. Just as he was about to speak, I preempted him. If he is a loser, aren't I the same? I hate your superior look the most. We are indeed not as good as you. But we don't steal or rob. And we haven't done anything harmful. Why should we be humiliated by you? Leo is my best friend. I can't bear to see him so aggrieved. And my emotions became more and more excited. I must break up. Even if my father beats me to death, I still want to break up. I hate you. I hate you so much. Chasing you is the most regretful thing in my life. Why do you look down on people all day long? Why do you despise me? And why do you demand that I must listen to you? I just won't listen. I will break up with you. No matter how rich you are, I will break up with you. I just can't stand your arrogant and disgusting ordinary but confident man. I cursed recklessly. It was not until Leo tugged at the corner of my clothes that I realized how harshly I had just cursed. Felix's face at this moment could no longer be described as ugly. He stared at me gloomily, as if he had a knife. He could peel my skin and pull out my tendons without hesitation. Ordinary but confident man? He read these 3 words once, and suddenly laughed. It's really rare. In my life, I can still hear these 3 words being used on me. I'll ask you one last time. Stella, are you coming with me or not? Things have come to this point. If I go with him again, I'm an idiot. I shook my head without hesitation. Felix smiled. Good. Very good. The 2 of you cuckolded me and then tried to shift the blame onto me. Do you think I'm a pushover made of paper? Fine. I really want to see if you 2 good-for-nothing guys can withstand my revenge. Felix left with a cold face. My taut nerves relaxed, and I suddenly felt weak. Leaning on the booth, I saw Leo beside me looking equally exhausted. After a while, his eyes gradually filled with despair. Stella, I'm doomed. The young master won't be too hard on you, but he will surely make my life a living hell. No, I have to go home and admit my mistake. I grabbed the hem of his clothes and said weakly, or, let's run away. Let's go to the South Pole and stay there for half a year before coming back. Whether he takes revenge on you or not, as the rumor of cuckolding him that we spread just now is enough for both of us to be punished by family rules. Leo and I looked at each other. Our eyes were full of despair after the momentary satisfaction of scolding. 16. This bar is a place where rich kids often hang out. What had just happened had already been spread crazily in the circle by Busboides. Within half an hour, both Leo and I received the news that our credit cards had been frozen. Leo was desperate. I still had my salary card. He didn't. He became a truly penniless pauper. It's okay. I'll support you. I patted him on the shoulder. I still have more than 300 yuan in my card. It should be enough for the 2 of us to live on. Enough for a lifetime? Me. What do you think? Then don't I still have to go home and get beaten? Leo squatted on the ground in despair, hugging his head. Sooner or later I'll be beaten. It's better to get it over with earlier. After that, I can still have a couple of good days. Me, my father, mother, brother, sister-in-law, and even our nanny were calling me like crazy. My friends said I was crazy. Busboides said I was amazing. Even Leo's older brothers sent me a message, euphemistically asking me if Leo was really so bold as to cuckold the young master of the Fu family. If so, they would beat him to death. Looking at the screen full of messages, I pursed my lips and felt very sad. Felix hadn't even started to take revenge on me yet. I had already been severely scolded by my family. So I simply turned off my phone, grabbed Leo, and ran to a nearby hotel to get a room and sleep. As for other troublesome things, I'll deal with them after I wake up. 17. The next day, the photo of Leo and me getting a room in the hotel was spread wildly in the circle. There was evidence for cuckolding the young master. Everyone praised us for being so daring. At the same time, the Fu family gave the project that my family had been competing for to someone else and cut off the cooperation with the Lin family at the same time. I lay on the bed, covering my eyes warily, not understanding. I just want to break up. Why is it so difficult? After reading all the messages, Leo, on the contrary, was like a broken pot, and his calmness was terrifying. I think he hasn't gone all out yet. He should be waiting for you to beg him. What if I don't? Then will our 2 families lose money together? Or, even more tasteless lie, be completely ruined by him? Leo thought for a while and said, but I don't think he will be so cruel. He likes you so much that he won't make it a dead-end situation between you 2. He likes me? I frowned and opened my eyes to ask him, where did you see that? During the 3 months when you were traveling abroad. He went to your home every day, looking as if he had lost his soul. He even came to me, asking me if I could contact you, tell you that he was not poor. and ask you to come back and not abandon him. Leo paused and said, I think he should like you. But he's used to being dominant. And you don't like to be restricted. So you find him annoying. Actually, as long as he doesn't want to, there will surely be no good end between you two. Last night, both of us just wanted to feel good without thinking, leaving a lot of troublesome things behind. We must find a way to solve them. Leo pressed his temples painfully. This time, to help you, I will surely be punished by family rules. When this matter is resolved, remember to treat me to dinner. Yeah. I nodded and said softly, thank you. 18. Leo went home to receive family punishment. I lay on the bed restlessly, searching for travel groups to the South Pole. I admit that I wanted to escape. Just like the time when I sent the breakup text message and then blacklisted him and ran abroad to play. Subconsciously, I was escaping the topic of dealing with my feelings. It's too messy. It's too annoying. I hated Felix's condescending discipline of me. But I had truly loved him for 4 years. The remaining love restrained my actions, making me unable to break up cleanly. The doorbell of the room rang. Thinking it was room service, I opened the door absent-mindedly and saw a strange woman. She was tall and thin, about 50-something years old, wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, and exuded the aura of a strong woman all over. She looked me up and down and raised her hand to adjust her glasses. Miss Shenhe. Hello. I'm Felix's mother. 19. At first, our family was very dissatisfied with you as a daughter-in-law. Your family background is not outstanding. And you are not particularly remarkable among the younger generation either. Which does not meet our family's criteria for choosing a daughter-in-law. But we couldn't persuade Felix as he liked you. A long time ago, he told us frankly that he would marry no one but you. Mrs. Fu sighed. At first, I didn't like you either. Because your parents didn't cultivate you in the way of an arranged marriage. You are willful, spoiled and selfish, and not suitable to be the mistress of the Fu family. But last night, Felix was very sad. He didn't sleep all night. He smoked on the balcony all night. I could still hear his crying when I listened at the door. I talked to him. He asked me with red eyes if he had really done wrong. If he shouldn't have been so controlling over you and made you hate him. He said he regretted it very much and didn't know what to do. If he touched your family, he was afraid that you would hate him. But if he didn't, he couldn't find any way to make you come back. Logically speaking, I shouldn't interfere in the emotional matters between you and him. But still, the strong-willed lady pursed her lips. Finally, because she felt sorry for her son, she lowered her noble head. Miss Shenhe, can you go to see him and have a good talk with him? Couples surely need to get along and adjust to each other. Can you give him another chance? 20. Actually, I really hate the feeling of being bossed around by elders. But Felix's mother was too straightforward. She straightforwardly didn't like me. She straightforwardly felt sorry for her son. After she left, I stared blankly at the phone screen. Somehow, I went to look through the chat records between Felix and me. 4 years. From the time we met until now. From the beginning when I flirted with him, and he coldly replied with an to now when he sent me a long paragraph and I only replied with a string of ellipses. I lured him into falling in love, but then mercilessly abandoned him. A rare sense of conscience welled up. I remembered that Felix's mother had just said I was selfish. Actually, she wasn't wrong. I threw away my phone, buried my head in the quilt, and thought a lot absent-mindedly. Felix and I have come to this point today, not just because of that stack of rules. Essentially, it is because we are not a good match. He is capable, while I am not. He is the heir of the family, and I am just a daughter spoiled by my parents. He doesn't trust the decisions I make and subconsciously regards me as the one to be protected, strongly arranging everything for me. He doesn't mean any harm, but I don't like this kind of love with a sense of looking down. So, what on earth should I do? I pounded on the bed. So annoying. 21 I want to go traveling again. Leo, who had been beaten, was lying on the bed and talking to me on the phone. He was very speechless about my evasive behavior. Sister, are you just going to keep dragging it out? Aren't you afraid of making him so angry that he'll drag everyone down? I shut my mouth and pretended to be dead. Before long, my father called. His voice was tired but also gentle. All right. If you don't like him, then don't be together. It's just a breakup. My daughter of the Shen family can do whatever she wants. Dad will back you up. Dad, I couldn't help crying. When I quarreled with Felix, I didn't cry. When everyone questioned me like crazy, I didn't cry. When his mother said I was not good enough for him, I didn't cry either. But I broke down completely under Dad's gentle comfort. Dad, I'm scared. They all blame me and say I did wrong. But I just want to break up. I just want to break up. Why does everyone have to blame me? Just for a moment. I really felt that I had been abandoned by the whole world. So sad. So desperate. It was like the false appearance of harmony around me was shattered. And everyone was hitting me when I was down, waiting to see my jokes. Dad sighed. All right. Stop crying. If you don't like it, you don't like it. No one will blame you. Your mother has made tomato braised beef brisket for you. Come back to eat when you have time. Then, Dad thought of something and said, your sister-in-law is petty and her words are unpleasant. You don't need to answer her calls. I'll unfreeze your credit card. You go traveling and play for a few months. Leave this to Mom and Dad. Don't worry about anything. My precious daughter doesn't need to compromise for anyone. My vision was foggy. Tears kept flowing out, and I wiped them randomly with my sleeve. As soon as Dad's call ended, my sister-in-law's call came in. After thinking for a while, I still answered it. 22 on the other end. Her voice was shrill. Stella, you can't be so willful. Do you know how much benefit it will to us if we get involved with the Fu family? Do you know how much the project that the Fu family has suspended is worth? You've been spoiled by your father. Even your brother spoils you. I really can't stand it. In my parents' home, you would surely be beaten half dead and driven out. Go and make up with Felix quickly. Do you hear? Otherwise, when your father dies, I will surely drive you away. Try cursing my father one more time? I warned her in a deep voice. I was too lazy to bother with you before for my brother's sake. I can't do anything about your family not treating girls as human beings. But if you dare to mess with me, just try it. You've said that Felix likes me. But you still dare to scold me like this. Are you out of your mind? After that, I hung up the phone and sent the phone recording just now to my father and brother. And then I sincerely apologized to them. Sorry. Dad, brother. I shouldn't have affected the family business because of my willfulness. I will go to talk to Felix clearly. I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Being loved and pampered, I seemed to regain my strength. The rabbit, which had been extremely questioned and suppressed until its ears drooped and it curled up in its hole, finally decided to bravely go out. I don't want to run away anymore. I can't always hide behind my father and let him protect me from the wind and rain. 23 When I arrived at the Fu family's, Felix's mother asked me to wait in his study. He stayed up all night and just fell asleep. Please wait for a while. I nodded. I waited for 5 hours. I was sitting on the sofa in his study, scrolling through my phone until my eyes hurt. Then I belatedly realized that his mother was trying to intimidate me. But it was normal too. Anyone whose pampered son had been so troubled by a girl would be unhappy. I didn't have any resentment either. I got up to look at the books on his bookshelf and picked one with Chinese characters on the cover and sat on the sofa to read it. I couldn't understand it. Many familiar characters were put together, forming sentences that I couldn't comprehend. I sighed and was just about to put the book back, when I heard the study door open. Felix walked in wearing a bathrobe, his hair wet. When he saw me, he was obviously stunned for a moment. Why are you here? The confusion only lasted for a moment. Soon he sneered coldly. The project is lost and you know to come to me? I thought you were so proud. So willful that you could be reckless and keep fooling around without caring about anything. I stared blankly without speaking. He irritably threw the towel on the floor. He strode over, picked me up and put me on his lap, wrapped his arms around me tightly. He bit my earlobe with his lips and said through gritted teeth, "Missy, are you still going to make trouble in the future?" He was very angry. He tightly pinched my wrist with his fingertips, put it behind me and restrained it, pressing me into his arms in an absolutely controlling way, not allowing me to escape at all. "Since you've come to me, I'll take it as you taking the initiative to admit your mistake. Let's just let it go this time. If you are willful again in the future, I will definitely not show any mercy and will definitely ruin your family. Do you understand?" 24 He threatened me ferociously. But his body was shaking. His eyes were red, staring at me without blinking, as if on the verge of collapse. He was afraid. I kept silent all the time. He was afraid that I would quarrel with him again, hitting me. He was afraid that I would be in pain, scolding me. He was afraid that I would be angry, wanting to get back at my family, but also afraid that I would hate him. He really didn't know what to do with me. "Stella, say something to me." He rubbed his nose against my cheek, again and again, his voice trembling, as if about to break down. "Don't ignore me. Don't treat me like this. Please. I'm wrong. I won't care about you anymore in the future. You can do whatever you want. Stay up all night. Drink. Play games. You can do anything. Don't be angry with me. Okay?" 25 I rubbed against his cheek. I buried my face in his chest and couldn't help laughing. "I think I'm so capable. A proud flower like you has been conquered by me." "Felix." He turned my head up with a black face. "What did you just say?" "Say it again?" I didn't dare. I tilted my head to kiss his hand and couldn't help but want to laugh again. I leaned forward to hug him and apologized before he got angry. "I'm wrong. I shouldn't be so willful and keep mentioning breaking up at every turn. Actually, my husband is very easygoing. If I were to act coquette's lie and beg you again, you definitely wouldn't be so strict with me. Right? For all your bad habits. No matter how much you act coquette's this lie, I won't allow you to do them." He punctured me expressionlessly. I think he really doesn't understand charm. I let go of my arms around him and wanted to step back, but he held me firmly. "But considering your young age, I can be more lenient and not be so strict. But you can't stay up until 4 o'clock. And you can't eat soup dumplings in bed either." I slowly replied. "Oh. And it was a bit funny again. Only when I quarrel with you to this extent will you be willing to make concessions. Usually, no matter what I say, you treat it like farting, not taking me too hard at all. I won't take the blame for this." He frowned and refuted. "I wash your clothes, cook for you, and take you to the hospital immediately if you cough. I take care of you more attentively than I do myself. If this doesn't count as taking you to heart, then what have I been thinking about? Black Cat Sheriff? Then why did you hide your identity?" I looked up at him. Was it fun to deceive me for 4 years? Watching me always worry about you being poor, and shamelessly pleading for you in front of my father for your future? 26 I didn't originally plan to dwell on this matter. He was powerful. My father was happy. My mother was gratified. And my brother also sighed that I had finally done something right. No one cared about the 4 years I had been deceived. It seemed that they only cared about the result. Felix loved me. Felix was rich. And everyone was happy. So, why did you deceive me? I asked him again. Is it so difficult to tell me that you are not poor and be honest with me? I'm sorry. Felix pursed his lips. At the beginning, I wanted to explain. But you always misunderstood me. Later, I just forgot. Really forgot. You seem to rarely mention my family background. So I didn't have a chance to remember. That was because I was afraid that you would be sulfate-based and didn't dare to mention it. Sorry. He lowered his head and admitted his mistake in a muffled voice. I know I'm wrong. I'm sorry. According to my temper. Right now I really want to simply slap him in the face. But thinking of the white hair on my father's temples, and then looking at his face, which is extremely to my liking, I gritted my teeth and held back. This is not an ordinary relationship. For my father. For my mother. And for my future life as a wealthy lady who spends money like water. I must train this wealthy suitor well. 27. Then swear that you won't deceive me again in the future. Okay. He kissed my hand and said in a helpless tone, actually, swearing is not very useful. It all depends on one's conscience. Seeing that I looked unfriendly, he smoothly changed his tune. I will never deceive you in the future. Or else I will be struck by lightning when I go out. I pursed my lips. Then about the project in my family. It has been given to others. It's not good to go back on one's word. I will choose a better one for you. I was satisfied. I pushed aside his bathrobe, rubbed his abdominal muscles while hesitating whether to mention the Lin family's matter. He was in a good mood right now. But if I mention Leo, he will surely be angry. I licked my lips and was just about to say something when I heard him speak lazily. Want to ask about the Lin family? I looked at him for a second, then very sensibly leaned forward to kiss him. Leo was also trying to help me. Don't be angry with him. We didn't cuckold you either. It was all rumors. You are magnanimous. You have a broad mind like a prime minister. Can you just let it go? He was amused by me, with the kind of relationship you to have had since childhood. Sleeping in the same bed. If there were an improper relationship, I'm afraid there would be a large area of green on my head. He said casually, when you two get together, you are like to primary school students watching ants move. Instead of worrying that he will cuckold me, you should worry that he will make you stupid. Me? Are you saying I'm stupid? No. He is stupid. Felix made up for it. You are the smartest baby. I suspect Felix was being sarcastic. But I have no evidence. I stared blankly at his abdominal muscles and, looking up, saw his much darker eyes. Stella. He slowly said, I've held it in for a long time. I immediately realized what he wanted to do. I blinked and was a little excited. In the study? Can we play the teacher stud and role play? He twitched the corners of his mouth, and picked me up and walked outside. Of course not. I don't have your strange hobbies. Each place is for a certain kind of activity. Of course. For this kind of thing, we have to go back to the bedroom. Such an old-fashioned person. Hopeless. 28. 3 months after making up with Felix, Leo and I made an appointment to go out and play and eat a medium-rare steak. Something that usually smelled delicious made me feel inexplicably nauseous. And I couldn't help vomiting. Leo was astonished. Could you be pregnant? We stared at each other. Immediately. We didn't even finish our meal and drove to the hospital. Leo used his money power to get an expedited service. When the results came out, looking at the word pregnancy on it and listening to the doctor complimenting us, Sir and Madam are so lucky. The baby is healthy. Don't worry. Leo coughed. I'm not her husband. Huh? She is my ancestor. The doctor was stunned. Leo waved the examination form at me. Ancestor. Getting pregnant before getting married. Do you still care about your reputation? Reputation? I looked up and looked at him in surprise. You forgot. I never had such a thing. The short story about the two of us cuckolding the heir of the Fu family, and then being forced to separate with tears under coercion and bribery is still posted on the space. Instead of thinking about such a damn thing as reputation, we should think about whether they will question the father of the baby in my belly. Leo blurted out without thinking, Does Felix dare to question you? Isn't he afraid of his family being turned upside down? Me. You. Don't worry. He would question the paternity test being wrong before he questions that there is an improper relationship between you and me. In his eyes, we are two mental patients. Eating, drinking, having fun and causing trouble everywhere every day. Suddenly he thought of something and asked, "Did you just drink some wine? By the way, can a pregnant woman drink?" We looked at each other for 2 seconds. Successfully saw panic in each other's eyes. 29. The doctor said it was okay for the time being. But it was hard to say whether there would be problems in the future. We could only wait until the fetus was a little bigger for another examination. I was a little scared and sat obediently on the sofa waiting for Felix. He was obviously very surprised. "Didn't you go out to play with Leo? Why are you back so early? Why are you so well behaved today?" I swallowed and didn't dare to speak. His eyes gradually became amused. He held me and sat on the sofa. Took off the obstructive tie. Bent over and bit my earlobe. "What guilty thing did you do?" "Huh?" "I drank some wine." It's a small thing. A little bit is okay. And I'm pregnant." Felix's lingering biting action stopped. He looked up. With a dazed look on his face as if he had been bombed. After a long while, he reacted and hurriedly picked me up. "Go to the hospital. I just came back from the hospital. The doctor said it can't be checked out yet." I whispered, "Honey, not only did I drink alcohol, but I also took cold medicine last week. Will there be something wrong with the baby?" I was so flustered that I was about to cry. Felix was also flustered. But he forced himself to comfort me. "Don't cry. It shouldn't be that fragile. Don't worry." Still, he took me to the hospital. Amid the doctor's continuous congratulations, he called all our relatives to share the good news. His mother was also very surprised, and sensibly reminded him to remember to hold the wedding. Although in your young couple's eyes, there is no difference between getting married and not getting married. You always have to take into account what the outside world thinks. Felix took it to heart. He asked me what kind of wedding dress I wanted. I said, "Can we hold the wedding after giving birth? I will gain weight during pregnancy. And it will be so ugly to wear a wedding dress." Felix was a little hesitant. "But in this way, they will say that we got married because of the baby." "I don't care what they say." I said. "I don't care if they call me a slut or say that I'm too eager. I just can't bear them to call me ugly. This is my once-in-a-lifetime wedding. And I don't want to be ugly on that day." Seeing that I was so insistent, Felix let it go. He touched my still flat belly. Feeling very novel. He couldn't help but laugh. "Stella, I'm going to be a father. In the future, I have to take care of two people. I'm not a child and don't need your care." "Yes," he said gently. "You're not a child. You're my baby."